police officer was patrolling late at night off the main highway. At nearly midnight, he saw a couple in a car in Lover's Lane, but the interior light was brightly glowing. He carefully approached the car to get a closer look. Then he saw a young man behind the wheel reading a computer magazine. He immediately noticed a woman in the back seat filing her fingernails. Puzzled by this surprising situation, the officer walked to the car and gently rapped on the window, and the young man lowered the window and says, yes, officer. And the officer said, what are you doing? The young man says, well, officer, I'm reading a magazine. And then he pointed toward the young woman in the back seat and he said, and her, what is she doing? Sir, I believe she's filing her fingernails. Now the policeman was totally confused. A young couple alone in a car at night in Lover's Lane, and nothing obscene was happening. Then he asked, young man, what is your age? He says, I'm 22, sir. And he says, and what about her? What's her age? And the young man looked at his watch and he says, well, in about 11 minutes, she'll be 18. It looks like those two have found the right place at almost the right time. You know, that's a luxury a lot of people feel they don't have. How many people can declare that they are in the right place at the right time? I mean, they certainly don't think that they're in the right place while they're working jobs that they hate, or they're living in relationships that they're unhappy in, or they're sitting in the car stuck in the middle of rush hour traffic. Being in the right place at the right time is something we usually don't think about, at least not in the present moment. That's the kind of thing we usually think about when we do hindsight over our lives. And as we look back and see that certain events or circumstances or situations now appear to us as we were in the right place at the right time. And I suspect that most people would declare that those times are actually pretty rare in their lives. And they discount the rest of their lives as, I was just there. Well, here's a news flash. You are in exactly the right place right now. You're exactly where you are supposed to be at this moment. Right here, right now. The right place at the right time. The circumstances we find ourselves in, the events, the locations, the situations, are all based upon the choices that we've made. The path we took and the path we did not take were all based on our decisions and our choices. So our being here, right now, right here, is not a mistake. Believe it or not, where we are right now is the only place that we can be based upon all the variables. It is said that the universe creates mathematically, and every thought and every action that we make has a mathematical value. So we are here because mathematically we cannot be any place else. And in bringing about this realization, our higher selves want to assure us that everything happens for a reason, and nothing happens by chance. The poet Stephen Wonder says it quite perfectly. He says, we all know sometimes life's hates and troubles can make you wish you were born in another time and space. But you can bet your life times that and twice its double that God knew exactly where he wanted you to be placed. Remember our declaration of spiritual principles. Number one, the first two. We believe in infinite intelligence. Number two, we believe that the phenomena of nature, both physical and spiritual, are the expression of infinite intelligence. We, each and every one of us, is an expression of infinite intelligence. We are individualized expressions of infinite intelligence. And therefore, we are never, ever outside of infinite intelligence. We're like the fishes in the water. We are never outside of the ocean of consciousness in which we are living. And that ocean of consciousness, known as infinite intelligence, acts upon every thought we have, every emotion we experience, every action we take. So where we find ourselves is no accident. Now, when I first realized that fact many years ago, it actually frightened me to know that infinite intelligence was reacting to everything I did, to everything I thought, to everything I said. For a while there, I tried not to say or think anything for fear of what would happen. Of course, that lasted all of 5 minutes. But for a while, I was careful about everything. I really tried. But, I'm only human. It didn't take long before I was back into my unconscious self, trying my best to make it in the world, to be a success. That was the beginning. That was the beginning of my spiritual journey, to find myself, to find out who and what I was, and why I'm here in this life. And one of the things I learned on my journey is that life here on earth as a physical human being is a very special experience. Yes, we are spiritual beings, but if we remain in our spiritual form, we will not evolve. There are no challenges. We wouldn't grow and develop as spirits because there is nothing resisting us. There is nothing we have to go through. Being in physical bodies, on the other hand, exposes us to circumstances and events and experiences that are only available here on the physical plane. The things we experience here on the physical plane have the effect of challenging us, uplifting us, depressing us, inspiring us, destroying us, and rebuilding us. There are no mistakes. Our goal as spiritual beings is to grow through all the obstacles confronting us and eventually remember who we really are and what we're really here to do. And that will uplift us. But of course, that journey is not an easy one, not at all. And surprisingly, our biggest obstacle is ourselves. Our own minds are our biggest enemies. Because when we were very young children, those who had authority over us, our parents and our teachers, they supported us, but they also controlled us. They uplifted us, but they also had to keep us in line so we didn't grow up behaving as wild animals. They were the instruments of our early conditioning. But in addition to those authority figures, there were our peers. Our peers who could be quite cruel and judgmental. Their cruelty and judgment also had an effect on us. And the result of all that was that we came out of childhood not only forgetting that we were divine children of infinite intelligence, but actually believing that we were flawed or inadequate or not worthy or not smart. Because of those false beliefs that were implanted into our consciousness by our experiences, many of us did not go boldly into life. Instead, we tried to hide our forgetting that we were divine children of infinite intelligence. And on that occasion, that were discovered or praised, we tried to discount our accomplishments, so that we would not feel those false beliefs that were implanted into our consciousness. We rushed our experiences. Many of us did not go boldly into life. That we instead were actually forgetting the effects of fear of being inadequate, fear of not being worthy, fear of not being enough, fear of discounts. Fear caused us to deny ourselves so that we would not know who we are. We don't realize it, but when we allow that fear to act upon us and we say no to who we really are, we say no to our greatness and to our beauty, we're actually arguing with infinite intelligence. We're arguing with the power that made us the way we are, the power that made us perfect. We're saying, no, you were wrong, infinite intelligence, and I know better. I'm no good. Do we really know better than infinite intelligence? No, we're lying to ourselves. The truth is there. We each have our own unique set of talents and passions and interests and quirks. There's actually no one in the entire world of billions of people who is exactly like us. Every one of us is different, unique. So when we try to hide those things about ourselves, when we try to hide ourselves, we are actually robbing the world of the unique gift that we are. We're stealing from the world by hiding ours. I can remember all the time I wasted trying to fit in, to be so-called normal. What a waste of time. Because it never worked. Then somewhere along the line, I discovered that my strange quirks and my different way of looking at things were actually assets. I remember one day when I was creative director of an advertising agency, I was conducting a meeting with my staff of writers and artists. And during that meeting, I made a comment about some observation I'd made, not realizing that what I said was somewhat strange. But when I said it, the woman who was my head writer says, "There's another Drewism for the book." I was known as Drew back then. And everybody chuckled and wrote it down. And that's when I learned that everybody in my creative department had been collecting the quirky things that I had been saying. And they were creating a notebook called Drewisms. At first I was embarrassed. My first thought that it was damaging my effectiveness as a manager. But as I thought about it longer, I soon realized that they were not really ridiculing me, because there was a certain level of affection in what they were doing. And then after that, I began to notice that they were incorporating my quirky language into their own speech patterns. It was actually one of the ways they were showing me respect. My hiding out was a waste of time. They saw through me. We live in a world where the self-help industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. People spend enormous amounts of money buying books and CDs and workshops and coaching, trying to fix themselves because they feel that they are less than they think they should be. They think that they are not worthy. But you know, all those books and CDs and workshops, all they do is show us eventually that we don't have to fix ourselves. What we need to do is learn to accept ourselves. We need to learn to accept who we are. And once we learn to accept who we are, we need to embrace ourselves with unconditional love and compassion and maybe a little bit of humor. Because if you can laugh at yourself, then everybody can laugh with you instead of at you. We also learn as we progress along this journey that sunshine is the best disinfectant. What I mean is that many of our unhealthy and destructive patterns of thought and behavior are hidden inside the darkness of our shadow selves. And the shadow is that part of ourselves in which we push back those parts of ourselves that we don't like, push them back into the darkness and pretend that they're not there, except they never go away. As a result, those actions that we try to hide sneak up on us, and they jump out unconsciously in the worst possible moments. But all those are based on fear. Fear. Fear of being wrong, fear of being inadequate. But as we learn to love ourselves, as we learn to accept ourselves, those things about ourselves that are hidden begin to be revealed to us. As we learn to accept and love ourselves, those things that we are ashamed of begin to come forth and ask for acceptance. Yes, as they begin to come into the light, and as we begin to accept them, they begin to dissipate. They begin to fade away. They begin to change. You know, in the world of mystical practices, in the world of mystical training, when I went through a mystery school, that was called self-observation. Watch yourself in a detached manner, in a non-judgmental manner. Watch yourself in a compassionate manner, and allow yourself to see who you really are and accept more of those hidden behaviors, more of those hidden thoughts, because they're not terrible. They're not rotten. They're not despicable. They're you. Open yourself up. Allow them back into the house and show them love. Remember, we are the divine children of the Most High God. I just moved here from San Francisco a few years ago after 35 years. And one of the things I learned, the area where we lived was near the Silicon Valley. I was a volunteer counselor with a group that was dedicated to helping people over 40 who had been eliminated from their jobs and replaced by younger people. You know, I'm not so aware of it here in Buffalo, where senior citizens are appreciated and catered to. In Silicon Valley, if you hit 40, you're out of a job. The companies don't want you anymore. So there's a lot of fear and tension in that area. So my job, or my volunteer work, was to help those people who had been eliminated from their jobs to re-examine their lives, to discover their talents and their inner desires, to see what new direction they could take in their lives and not starve. One man I worked with had been a manager of a large computer network for over 20 years. He was highly regarded in the industry, and they cut him loose because the company was going in a different direction. He was considered a has-been, and he didn't even have gray hair. Not a one. So I worked with him, and we explored who he was. And I learned that he loved to cook and experiment with food. He even had a column in the community newspaper in which he reviewed cookbooks. It took some time and effort to convince him that maybe that was the path he should take. Maybe there was something for him in the world of food. He resisted strongly because, hey, he'd been in the business for 20 years. That was the way he knew how to make money. Food wasn't the way. But eventually, I wore him down. And he began to accept that maybe there was some truth in what I had said. And he finally accepted the possibility that might be a path that he could take. And as soon as he accepted that possibility, synchronistic events started to happen. And the next thing he knew, he met a woman who was the CEO of a vegan food company. They had several conversations, and she really liked him. And she hired him to help her develop new dishes, new vegan dishes. And there he was, in the place he really wanted to be, in a place where he could really express himself. His secret joy. So, we are individualized expressions of infinite intelligence. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. And we choose to enter this physical human body because of the challenges, the experiences, and the joys that we will encounter. Because we are now living the adventure of a lifetime. As we grow and develop into powerful spiritual beings through these experiences. It's not easy. Of course, there's going to be moments of failure. There are going to be moments of doubt. There are going to be moments of wondering what in the world is going on. But that's part of the process. I remember when I got the news that I had prostate cancer and that I have to go through 9 weeks of radiation therapy. I was shocked. I thought, wait a minute. I'm a spiritual teacher. How can I have cancer? I thought I was supposed to be immune to this kind of stuff. Then I remembered that 61% of cancer patients have unforgiveness issues. So I said, maybe that's it. So I desperately began to search through my memory for any signs of unforgiveness that I've been harboring deeply over the years. I did find some things from the distant past, but that didn't seem like enough to get cancer. Then I continued to think about it, and I realized a couple of things about my situation. First of all, I remember that every situation has a gift. No matter how bad, every situation has a gift. So I started looking for the gift. And the first gift I got was that, one, they caught it really early, so my cancer is not life-threatening. It's actually very treatable and has a high percentage of cure. The second gift is a whole new world is open to me. Undergoing cancer treatment exposes me to a world that I had no experience of and knew only from a distance. My sister was a radiation therapist for 30 years, but I never visited her in her place of work. I never knew what went on in those places. But now I'm experiencing it firsthand. I've met and worked with some wonderful people who are medical professionals. Additionally, because the treatment is 5 days a week, same time every day, there's a group of people that I've encouraged, that I've encountered, who are there every day the same time I am. And there's some pretty nice people. Pretty open and friendly and fun. So I've been given another opportunity for spiritual growth here on my spiritual journey. So when those inevitable moments come up, when you wonder, what's going on in my life? Why am I here? What did I do to deserve this? Remember the words of the multi-Grammy-winning singer, composer, producer, and poet extraordinaire, Stevie Wonder. We all know sometimes life states and troubles can make you wish you were born in another time or place. And you can bet your life times that and twice, it's double. But God knew exactly where he wanted you to be placed. Thank you for watching. And please, remember to click on the thumbs up button. And if you haven't already done so, please choose to subscribe. Remember, I would love to hear from you, your thoughts, your questions, your comments. Please use the comment section below the video. And remember, you can help support this ministry by going to PayPal and or by going to PayPal through my website at bozemandevelopment.com and clicking on the Please Donate link. Or you can do it by using the Cash App and going to sending it to $Andre Amaron. So anyway, I look forward to seeing you again next week. Remember, I am Reverend Andrew Bozeman, and this has been On the Wings of Your Mind. Remember, I am Reverend Andrew Bozeman, and this has been On the Wings of Your Mind.